My name is Sam Price, the Crypto Lifer, and every single Friday I give you a macro analysis of the markets. We go from Bitcoin to the S&P futures to the NASDAQ, Bitcoin dominance, Tether dominance, the DXY, gold, silver, you name it. Let's look at the big picture. Let's see what's happening in these big, a lot of geopolitical uprisings, a lot of things happening. What are the markets? How are the markets responding on a macro scale? Let's take a look at these monthlies. Let's look at the weekly. Let's not get caught up in the smaller time frames, and let's see what's happening here for BTC and the rest of the world. First thing I start off with is BTC. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin. Right off the bat, I see a bit of a cup and handle here on the 4-hour. The 4-hour has come back to previous resistance. Here's the key. If today the 4-hour closes this candle and starts to make this move further back to the upside, we could get a measured move here on the 4-hour that could take us actually on a kind of a parabolic run here to about 102,400. Be a monster move for Bitcoin. It would be unbelievable, and it would be, it would be amazing. Previous resistance would be support here. We got to get these 4-hour candles to close in these, this afternoon, and then we got to start, and then we have to see that the 4-hour will breach this trend line. So we have to have the 4-hour candles to close, and then we need to see 4-hour candles closing above this trend line. I'm going to zoom out even more for you though, and kind of give you the macro. If you're a long-term investor too, you're just holding BTC, you're not really stressed about the day-to-day, but you'd like to see what's up with this bull market, bear market talk, right? Well, right now we got this swing up on the monthly. And then we also have, let me bring this into frame here. And then we also have swing down on the stochastic, on the RSI. That is called hidden bullish divergence. I've played with this. I've found it many times when the price goes up, but the RSI goes down, and it's on a mass scale when you have this bigger kind of hill inside. I've done it on the weekly, the daily. I've done it on 4-hour. Even the 5-minute it's played out before. I've seen it, and you break this high before you break this low. What this is telling me is somehow, some way, Bitcoin is going to somehow find its way above this before it finds its way below that. Now, there's no guarantees, right? It could do it anyway. We could get black swan. Some things could happen that we do not expect. But that's kind of, that's neither here nor there. Right now, we're above the 21. We're oversold in the stochastics, and things are looking good. Another macro signal I really want to talk about is I use the stochastics RSI, and I use these crosses all the time. And what I want to show you is Bitcoin's last big, Bitcoin's like came out of the bear market here, and it had bearish, a bullish div. And, these bottom buys here at 18 and anywhere below 20K really was the bottom buy. It was an amazing buy. And we had the cross right here on the stochastics RSI. We stumbled a little bit, but you can see eventually the move made it, and we had a nice move from the bottom back to about 30,000. Then we had a cross here on the stochastics RSI, and this is on the 2-week chart. A lot of people don't use the 2-week. I've been using the 2-week for years, and that's where I accumulate Bitcoin on the 2-week chart. For some reason, it's clearer to me than the monthly and the weekly. It has a really good, it's very clear to see. The 2-week chart crossed here, and that was the beginning of a monster rally for Bitcoin. And like once that cross happened, if you just decided to buy Bitcoin because you saw the cross, amazing. Again, here, the cross happened here. It was the beginning of a monster rally for Bitcoin too as well. When it went from 52 all the way further up to about 108,000. Cross here was as the rally from 82 all the way to a new all-time high. And we've crossed again right there, like suggesting we're beginning another new rally. And so every single time this has happened, we have gotten a pretty big move to the upside. And let me double click and show you the exact signal. You can see it's the blue line crossing the red line here on the big time frame, the 2-week for Bitcoin. So the weekly charts and the bigger chart, these charts are telling us a move is coming, the monthly. Also, this could close bullish engulfing this weekend. If that happens and we close here, we close above this resistance as support, we turn 90,400 into support, we tweezer bottom here, and then you can put that inside of that. That tells me the next candle should be pretty green. I wouldn't mind we clean up this wick a little bit. It's Friday, so, by Sunday night, I'd like this to get a little more punch through the weekend. And then we could, possibly close the next green candle next week too as well. And that could foreshadow a bounce back to the upside. One thing I do see that I keep in the back of my mind is, hey, are we going to still make some type of right shoulder here? And that means like we wouldn't really get back above this resistance at 109. And that time will tell as we get higher. But let's take it one step at a time. Let's get this weekly candle to close, bullish engulfing on Sunday night. If that happens, we have ourselves a move. And today, you want to see your 4-hour close above this previous support as resistance. You want to get this move back to the upside. Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance. Is money flowing out of Bitcoin into the altcoins? What's happening right now? Bitcoin's showing signs of strength. And if Bitcoin starts to move again, it does say, hey, your altcoins aren't going to be on the big run. Like Bitcoin's above the 4-hour, touching the 21. It looks like Bitcoin dominance actually is going for a little bit of a pump, to be honest. If we have to be, blunt about it. Nobody wants to hear that. One thing I do like, though, is we're entering into somewhat of an overbought zone, and we're still below the 200 moving average. If altcoins are going to run like people believe, we can't cross this 200. We'd have to kind of roll over here and start to move back down. I believe for Bitcoin to really gain its dominance and get back to the big boy leagues, it's going to have to take, aim again. That doesn't mean Solana and other coins won't follow. I believe they will. But again, a lot of money is going to flow into Bitcoin and altcoins, but more money, I believe, will still flow into Bitcoin. I don't see dominance breaking down too fast, too early just yet. I don't. I could be wrong here because we are right here. There's a resistance right there, and we could break down. If we ever end up below this 200 moving average on the 4, that's going to confirm some good alt movement, at least for a week or two. But right now, there's some momentum here for Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin is about to go on a run, it would make sense that it would make sense that it would pump on divergent. The dominance would pump because Bitcoin first, everyone. And Bitcoin's been first this entire rally. And if the monthly still has a higher low, which is true, we technically still have an uptrend on the monthly. People ask me, are we in a bull or a bear market? I say a bear market because we're below the daily 200 moving average for more than 40 days. To me, that's a bear market. That's just a simple, easy way to talk about it. It doesn't mean we can't get back out. I think my version of a bear market isn't as scary as other people's. It's just a downtrend for a little bit. It doesn't mean we can't get out of it. It doesn't mean we're destined for 5 years of pain. But to me, the definition is you're below the daily 200 moving average for more than 40, 50 days. You've created some type of bear market. Now you need a correction to resurrect that move. Tether dominance. We'd like to see that start to roll over. We don't want to see that on a bit of a move, right? That if Tether dominance starts to pump, it's going to be a little weird. One thing I do see is this is exactly what Bitcoin's doing, right? The same kind of story here. And you can see it's an Adam and Eve double top, retracing back to the key areas. So if Bitcoin's going to make the flag like on the 4-hour, this is always going to be the opposite. So we want to see this bear flag, which makes sense. You're below the 200. You're touching the 21. You're consolidating into a continuation pattern. This continuation pattern is a bear flag. Tether dominance begins to drop. Bitcoin gets the pump to 100,000. Things begin to change. This is starting to show signs that it's happening. You lost the 200 moving average on the 4. This was looking nice. And, Tether dominance is a lower low, lower high. I see a dump for Tether dominance. This tells me that Bitcoin's looking good for a possible move in the following week ahead. And that'll be the third week of the month too, which is notoriously when you do get some pretty good pumpage if you've dumped at the beginning of which we have. So things are looking okay for the broader markets. This also tells me that people can flow into altcoins and Bitcoin, right? Instead of hodling their tether. So that's a good sign. I bought Bitcoin today. I keep buying Bitcoin. I've been throwing the tether back into BTC. It's desirable. Whenever we were back in here, the fear and greed index on alternative.me, I knew it was a good time to buy a lot of BTC. So I've been doing it live on my channel. I don't just talk the talk. I walk the walk. I actually do what I say on a daily basis now. I've been live streaming every single day since February of 2021 without one day off. Not one day. You can verify it, Guinness Book of World Record it. I've been doing it for a long time. Moving forward, we're going to go to the next asset that I want to talk about, which is the DXY. And the DXY is getting hammered. And it makes sense. It started dropping. We want to see this make a lower low, turn it into kind of a decent, a symmetrical triangle and dump. Lately, we've had a little bit movement back because, hey, we got all that oil, right? It kind of lowered costs and that creates, there's some more strain for the dollar there. Also, war is good for the dollar. I have to be honest. It always has been. And, there's about to be some conflict going on. This looks like it wants to break up to about 100,613, right? The DXY 100.613, sorry, not 100, but that, that's the idea. But 100.613. The DXY looks somewhat bullish to me, actually. It does. Just, and again, the dollar doesn't have to dump for Bitcoin to pump or altcoins. It's generally a better prospect. So, hey, we'd love to see it hit here, and then we love this downtrend. But when will that be? Let's see. That's Tuesday. the 26th. So we'll do another one of these updates before we get to see this. So the next time we're doing this, we'd like to see us on Friday the, let's see, actually, no, so sorry. Tuesday the 21st. So no, we won't. On Tuesday, I'll go over this on my channel. We want to see this get rejected. If this starts to break out, then we know, that the DXY is a little stronger, and, altcoins aren't going to, altcoins do better generally when the DXY does slip. It's just, it's just what it is. They're very small in value, and their value, that you can look at them in USDT value, which can be pegged to the dollar. So it is what it is. Let's move forward and take a look. Okay. What do I do now? I'm always like, what do I do now? Bitcoin dominance. Oh yeah. Let's take a look at Now let's take a look at the total market cap and all of cryptocurrency. And there were some key things that I kept talking about every single week here together, and we went over. Again, we really want to focus on the macro. We don't want to get too down into the smaller time frames. First thing we want to see is, again, weekly is making a higher low, right? High, low, higher high, higher low. You could say it broke that, but I don't know. That was a riding trend too as well. For sure on the 2-week and again on the monthly is making a higher low. And there's hidden bullish divergence here, just like Bitcoin. Those are both, objectively seen. And then, the only thing I'm seeing here is, could this 5-day turn into a bear flag? So that's like the opposition to any bullishness. The 3-day staying above the 200 moving average also looks nice, but it's a bit overbought and we're a little high here. So it's like there's a in the middle moment here. Again, when you look at this, it's probably going to look just like Bitcoin on the 4-hour. It's like, dang, this is a huge moment. This is interesting. Bitcoin previous resistance is a support. This has already lost its support, but it has some more right there. I don't know. It doesn't look amazing. I got to be honest. Like it's a little bearish if we don't get a bounce. In the next 4 or 5 days, we'd like to see this like definitively stay above this previous support as resistance. See, Bitcoin's doing it, but the altcoins aren't. So you can see the altcoins are lagging behind Bitcoin. This is a total market cap, so it has everything. Bitcoin looks better than the total. Why? Because, like Bitcoin is above this previous support as resistance, right? It's bouncing. This is a little sketchy compared to Bitcoin. And so the altcoins aren't performing as well. See, Bitcoin is above these 2 candle closes right now. This one already broke it. But again, if Bitcoin rips, altcoins will follow. You're looking to see if this 4-hour can break out. That's going to be the key. I know it's insane, but this is the key to the market right now. Otherwise, we come back down, we slump around, and it looks like we may have to take a dump there on that 3-day. And we can enter back inside of this channel and then end up back down here at like $3.8 trillion. We look at the total market cap in all of the altcoins, excluding Bitcoin, which is total 3. And the one thing I keep talking about, and look, it's double top today, and that's a double top, which tells me that these could dump. So you got a double top on the altcoins right now. That's cat ears on the altcoins. And whenever I've seen cat ears, they usually dump further to the downside. So that's a premonition that we may get some bearish moves here. It doesn't look amazing. Or like, are you going to bounce? We're at a standstill right now. Everyone's watching what Bitcoin's going to do on that 4-hour time frame. It loses it. This is catters to the 200. It gains it. This will bounce with Bitcoin. Quite interesting circumstances. That's the 4-hour time frame. We take a look at the bigger one, like the monthly, and again, and these are the altcoins. You do have that hidden bullish divergence that Bitcoin has. You do have the cross on the 2-week chart that has created a pump every time. You do have a falling wedge that could break out 60% of the time. It is technically just a little outside of it on the 2-week. You technically have a trend line here that you could say is holding. You got a trend line here. Could you bounce back to the top of the trend? Previous support was resistance right here on total 3-2 as well on the 2-week chart. The weekly shows signs of the stochastic RSI wanting a massive pump to the upside. That's what we call the banana curve. This says we should get a move, but right now that could close a tweezer top. Really need to see some movement here in the next 2 days, and it's low volume Friday and Saturday, so I don't know, the odds aren't amazing. I look at the daily, and again, similar to that, what we just talked about there on the 4-hour, you want to see the daily make a flag and not double top. I got to be honest, it looks like it's going to come down and test 832 first before a move. But let's see what Bitcoin can do today. Let's see if it can dig in. Let's see if Friday, somehow, some way, we can get a pump later tonight. And, and anything is possible. So only time will tell. It's really, really important what happens in the 4 hour today. This is crazy. By tomorrow, you're going to have a clearer picture of what this market wants to do. Let's take a look at gold. Gold just looked good to me, like it was going to rip out of a rising wedge and just do damage. So far, it kind of still looks like the same thing is happening for gold. Again, rising wedges mainly do break to the downside, but gold's been parabolic and looking pretty interesting. You do have some bear div there, though, you have to take into account, but we bounce back from that. To me, money printing continues. You know, we have issues in war, too. I mean, people stack gold. And so this tells me that if we keep escalating things and things, you know, we got Greenland, Venezuela, we got a lot going on all at once, right? We got our Greenland, Venezuela, and Iran all at the same time. It's a lot. So it tells me that people are going to be running into their gold. Now, silver was a little high strong and took a little bit of a hit today. I want to see how much, I want to see that. So I had silver ripping, and it looked like silver could get to 101. Had a little trouble, came down, but I think this is just a stutter step for silver. We take a look at the 1 hour, and it's still above the 200 moving average. Again, let's see what happens, for Bitcoin too, because that has a little bit of an effect on it's the digital precious metals. They don't move exactly together. I mean, silver's gone parabolic. But I want to see if Bitcoin gets a bounce, and I want to see what the DXY does. I'm looking for silver to hold above this 200, get the bounce, and continue on its way to the target. Still have some faith that silver's going to hit that target. Let's take ES1 here, which is the S&P futures. I've been very bullish on these futures breaking out of a rising wedge type of scenario here because they continue to print money. And as they print money, money has to go into the stocks. Also, what's interesting is war creates flow. And what do I mean by that? Well, they print money. And he said massive war spending, right? The Department of War, that's what it's called. They changed it from the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Like, it is what it is. Like, it's just, that's kind of how it's been. There's major contracts going. And what happens is people spend, right? So weapons company get the contracts. They spend, but what do? They spend it on their employees, people, right? And those people get the money and go where? They go and buy other things, cars. So even though it is weapons spending and it's a mass budget for our Department of War, that will trickle into tech stocks, usually semiconductors, stuff like that. And then that starts to flow into tech, and there's a lot of money being printed for this. So it tells me that and with that, and we also have money printing, boom. Again, Jerome Powell's going to play with the rates. They're saying that they're not going to cut the rates. They're going to play with that. That it is what it is, right? He's going to toy around. But, hey, by March, it looks like we will probably get a rate cut. So that looks like a parabolic breakout to me on the S&P, even though it's super, super bear. It's normally a very bearish sign. You got the rising wedge. You even have some kind of bear div there. I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of mill out, or if we dip a little bit, we bounce back, and then we go sideways for another round. We take a look at the NQ. Same thing. It's getting very extended. It's just a little more lateral, which is nice. It's not as much inside of a rising wedge, so to speak, right? And again, I drew this last week saying, hey, I see this happening, and this is kind of what has happened, right? I said I see us going sideways on the NASDAQ. So the last time you saw this on my macro analysis, it's exactly what I was talking about. And stop loss is kind of deep below these moving averages, right? There's been some wickage up and down, but for the most part, we're still inside of this entanglement here on the NASDAQ, right? So bang. And I see, a couple more days of this till a bigger breakout. It says a breakout's coming Monday or Tuesday of next week for the NASDAQ. So I see a big move for the NASDAQ coming Monday or Tuesday of next week based off the technical analysis that I'm looking at. Everyone, that is your macro technical analysis. It kind of gives you everything you need to handle the markets, no matter really what you trade. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you believe in yourself and always talk positively to yourself. Remember, you can, you will, you are the best. My name's Sam Price, the Crypto Lifer. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You can find out when I post my next video. Remember, if you came to the channel, then you're already doing the right thing. Crypto is life.